Support WrestleTalk!
Donate on Patreon.
Is there a faction war brewing in WWE? It seems so with the return of The Miz. That's what we're going to start off with here in a slightly reformatted WrestleRamble. I'm going to talk about the big talking point first. So, Raw. We've got the Shield, i.e. the Champions Club, nicely coined by Jason Jordan. What a terrible name that is. We've got the Balor Club, newly formed as of last week. And the return of The Miz creates the Miztourage. It's Royal Rumble season. What do you think?
I feel like this is more just for Royal Rumble season. It's kind of the same way you've got Absolution and you've got the Welcoming Committee and the Riot Squad over on SmackDown Live. So it's less of like we are starting a faction war here in WWE. But we are forming these alliances because they will help people come the Royal Rumble. Also, you get to do that famous and most popular of WWE bits of commentary, which is like, well, what's going to happen in the Royal Rumble if it comes down to two of the people of the Balor Club? Or what's going to happen if it comes down to Rusev Day? What's going to happen? It's every man for himself in the Royal Rumble. So, yeah, but I kind of like this. And also, it's a very interesting bit of note. On NXT TV last week, when they were doing their sort of like, hey, here's what you can expect coming in the new year. Do you know who was missing from the tag team package?
Oh, I was going to say War Machine, but that's a bit premature. Authors of Pain?
Sanity.
Oh.
So if you're talking about
Royal Rumble debut,
so if you're thinking of faction wars, then like what better than to bring up NXT's most dominant faction currently? Maybe. I mean, they didn't win War Games, but they bring in. My fantasy booking of this, and I've got a video coming out on Saturday that kind of like talks about this a little bit. My fantasy booking scenario is that Eric Young isn't actually even an entrant into the Rumble. They just debut and just mess things up. And
because
then
that is chaos. That fits within their remit.
Exactly, yeah. It's insanity.
So they're not one of the, like, Eric Young isn't one of the 30.
No.
Neither are the other two. It's more Rumble than ever.
It is more Rumble than ever.
They're just going to run down and attack people.
Or just come out from the crowd and just attack
Start
people.
a feud with another three-man faction.
Well, I really like the idea that they don't have a brand either. And they just so they attack on Raw and then they also attack on SmackDown Live as well.
You really have been fantasy booking.
Well,
and then maybe there's a bidding war between both general managers. Get William Regal involved.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
This is the template of every Luke fantasy booking.
But what are your thoughts on a potential faction war incoming? Do you think there is one?
I agree with you. I think it is just WWE booking for Royal Rumble season. They thought, we can have a few tense stare-offs. It's kind of easier, I imagine, because you've got 30 people in a Royal Rumble match. It's very hard to give each one of those 30 people an individual narrative with stories. So what you can do is you can clump them together and say, well, rather than these three people having different feuds and motivations and stories, they could just all be one. So conceivably 30 stories could get down to 10.
Yes.
If it was a Royal Rumble of three-man factions.
But I kind of like that because it tells a different story to last year's Rumble. Because last year's Rumble was all about, it's the most star-studded Rumble of all time, I think was their tagline, because you had Goldberg, Taker, Lesnar, you had all these massive names in there.
And somehow this year's Rumble is more Rumble than that.
Well, there's more Rumble because there's two of them.
Right. Is that what it is?
That's my guessing for it. It's more Rumble than ever because this time there's two of them. So yeah.
By the way, this is Michael Cole's call on commentary.
Todd's as well.
Yeah.
Todd Phillips. Is that his name? Todd Phillips? Yeah, he did it. He said it twice in the SmackDown broadcast. At least twice.
And WWE's official Twitter account posted that slogan.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, it's happening.
I texted as soon as I heard Michael Cole say it. The second he finished those words, I mean, I've written in my notes here in all caps, more Rumble than ever, and I texted it to you in all caps because I was like, that's their tagline.
It was after Samoa Joe challenged John Cena in the Royal Rumble match, and Michael Cole's were like, whoa, it's going to be more Rumble than ever, which doesn't tie into the whole two Royal Rumble things. It's just like, two guys are going to fight in the Rumble?
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty standard. It's like maybe that's what he means. This is the most Rumble thing ever to happen.
Exactly.
People are going to get thrown over the top rope. It's Rumble.
2 feet have to touch the floor. More Rumble than ever. So yeah, I'm kind of intrigued by this. What I found most fascinating about this, though, is kind of builds on the discussion that you and I had last week, where we were being a bit pessimistic about it, where we thought the Balor Club might just be a one-off.
You thought the Balor Club. I was like optimistic, and I put my bet on them staying together.
I was very pessimistic about the whole thing because my feeling was, well, if this is Balor Club's debut, if you are sticking these three together as a faction, as a unit, you did a piss poor job of introducing them last week in a pointless backstage segment that just led into a redundant main event match. It didn't feel like it's the big debut of the Balor Club. It was just like, these three lads have got nothing to do, so now they're together. But then this week, the whole thing was built around like, these guys have been best friends for years, they dominated Japan, they did X, they did Y, they've done Z, and you're like, why didn't you do this last week? Why didn't you build this up rather than just being like, here you are, this is what you've been asking for, we've done it for you. You happy now?
It's exactly what happened with the Shield reunion, though. Yeah, here it is. Enjoy.
Enjoy. Look, they did the fist bump. Pop now.
I feel like there was definitely a New Japan thing with... There were so many name drops to New Japan in the show. Backstage, Carl Anderson name dropped Tama Tonga and Bad Luck Fale when they were recounting old drinking stories. Did you catch the line when the Balor Club made their entrance for the main event and... Corey Graves says on commentary, this was always their mission, to being the elite.
Oh, no. Yeah. I think I must have missed that.
That was quite ham-fisted.
That little bit, wasn't it? Yeah.
Corey's really good sometimes. I really like Corey.
I'm a big fan of Corey Graves. Of the 6 commentators that they have, he is by far, well, 5 I suppose, he's by far the best they have.
It's weird, though, how if you factor in NXT commentators... He's like 2nd or 3rd best?
I'd say 3rd best, yeah, because I really like Morrow, and it's more than I absolutely love Nigel McGuinness.
Naughty Luke.
Naughty Luke.
So back to the faction war. We almost rambled away from it. The 3 main factions are the Shield plus Jordan. You've got the Balor Club. I see Balor Club taking a tweener role. That was the impression I got here.
Well, they certainly worked heel in the main event.
They worked heel, yeah. They worked over, because it was Roman Reigns getting... beat up for the majority of the main event, and then he got the hot tag to Rollins. But they're also grinny and smiling all the time, and the commentators are putting them over, and that's essentially what the Bullet Club were, the Japanese version of the Balor Club, where they are cool bad guys. You know, they're modelled on the NWO with the 2 sweets. So I think that's a really good position for them to take, especially in the dynamic of the baby faces of the Shield and the very obvious heels of the Miztourage. They're out and out bad chicken S-word heels. Because the Miz returned with Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas. Why are the Miztourage always involved in these 3-man group comebacks?
They have no one else, I guess. Like, this is really all they have. Like, when the Shield... We need a 6-man to put the Shield together. I guess it's The Miz. We need The Miz and his 2 comedy lackeys. But, you know, WWE have been doing such a great job over the last couple of weeks putting them in competitive matches with Finn Balor that perhaps now they just think they're over.
Yeah.
I was being sarcastic as well.
Of course.
I thought that was terrible booking.
But the Balor Club I'm intrigued by. I think they've got legs here. And they see... The way they showed the photo montage of their relationship before WWE, the explanation, do you remember what it was? Luke Gallows said, the reason we didn't team together right away was because we wanted to do our own things for a bit, see how successful we were.
So do your own things was teaming with AJ Styles
as
essentially
exactly.
the Balor Club.
and blatant lies.
And then AJ got drafted, so you just had to go and do whatever doctor stuff that they did where they were comedy geeks. And now they just say nerds a lot. And Balor was dressing up as the Pumpkin King. Now they can come together because they have no programs.
They had to hit rock bottom before they could rebuild themselves back up. Yeah, because it was SummerSlam 2016 where Balor won the Universal title. Before in that show, there's a backstage skit where AJ and AJ Gallows and Anderson are doing a little scientist skit, and Finn Balor walks past, and the whole crowd are like, wow. And they go like, hey, one more time. So they were trying to recruit Balor before.
Yeah. But
honestly,
the little Men in Black thing, you're meant to forget all that, mate. No, they've been biding their time. That's the story.
So this faction warfare really is the main event. I mean, I don't feel like the Universal title is the main event scene at the moment.
Particularly not with the gimmick they did this week.
We'll come on to that.
Yeah.
So you've got the Shield, which have all the titles. You've got the Intercontinental title belt on Roman and the Tag Team Championships on Rollins and Jordan. And now you've got the Balor Club which was the opening stare down in the middle of the ring. That's how Raw kicked off. After Michael Cole introduced Roman as having an all-time classic last week.
An all-time classic. I think particularly given how well-received Wrestle Kingdom has been. They were very much in high gear trying to put over how great their matches were last week. We had great matches too, you know.
Yeah, I liked that match.
Yeah,
I liked the match last week, but Michael Cole saying that, well, it wasn't that good a match. Why are you making me feel things I don't want to feel, Cole? And then Jordan comes out to celebrate with Roman.
Funny enough, I had that because Jericho's latest podcast is with Kenny Omega again. And it's essentially just Jericho.
It's not kayfabe.
Well, they talk about that. It is essentially Jericho talking about how great the match was. And him and Kenny then talking about, like, man, we had an all-time classic. Like, what a great match we had. It was what star ratings and stuff. It made me like the match less because it was then just these two sitting around just patting themselves on the back being like, man, what a great job we did.
Yeah.
Didn't we do great? Critics loved it.
It's like, I agree with you, but you saying that, there's always a little bit in Simon that goes, well, it wasn't that good.
Yeah.
As soon as someone tells me to think something, that little annoying, smarky voice in the back of my head,
Yeah.
not that good. So, yes, Jordan comes out to celebrate with Reigns.
Yeah.
And Reigns doesn't want anything to do with him. I thought Jordan played his role perfectly here.
I love how he just kept saying we
Yeah.
in this, as if he's already decided, well, Dean Ambrose is out, so we're the Shield now. Someone, a friend of mine tweeted me the other day saying, like, he has to come out with a Shield vest next week. Like, that would be so great. Like, that'd be really awesome.
Or,
doing their entrance, like coming out from the ring,
Yeah.
like coming out from the crowds. That'd be so funny.
That'd be really good, just to troll Reigns. And Rollins has a nice dynamic within this group of at least trying to mentor Jordan, even though he thinks he's an idiot. And Reigns is like, I don't want anything to do with this guy.
Yeah.
So that's really, I really like the storytelling that they're doing there. And then Finn Balor with the Balor Club come out. So happy. They're all smiling now.
Yeah.
Not just Balor.
No. There was a really odd chant that happened twice in this match, during this segment, where the crowd, I think they were expecting the crowd to chant Daddy's Boy, which has been kind of like a running theme for Jason Jordan. But they weren't. They were chanting Who's Your Daddy, which was the one they were doing for The Miz when Enzo started that bit. But which I thought was an odd chant because, it's Kurt Angle. We know that. That was the big reveal last year. That seems like a redundant question from the crowd.
Yeah, take that crowd. They weren't very good, were they, Memphis?
No, sadly not, because Memphis is usually a great crowd.
Well, it plays into my theory that these crowds want to have fun, but WWE just chips away at them. Like, no, you've got to sit through main event first. Do they still do that? They do still film.
Yeah, I think that's where the Revival are.
Yeah, and then you've got to sit through all these long in-ring promos and packages backstage.
I mean, we'll come on to that when we get talk about Rusev Day in the SmackDown review.
Yeah. But then, the Balor Club are so happy. And Finn cuts an okay promo. Like, it wasn't so much his performance, it was more the WWE speak he had to say within it.
This was really highlight for me because they had this video package at the start highlighting the all-time classic between Roman and Joe from last week. It was an all-time classic, 5 stars, mate.
It was, I was trying to do a Wrestle Kingdom joke. If only Okada and Naito could live up to Joe versus Reigns on an episode of Raw.
Exactly, yeah. It was Raw's version. It was Naito and Omega was their version of Joe versus Roman.
Yeah, that's more like it.
But I've forgotten the point I was going to make now. Yeah, they had a Roman's promo in there. And Samoa Joe's promo. Samoa Joe's promo was all fired up and he was full of piss and vinegar. And then it cut to Roman Reigns, who's just like, I'm going to try and keep my cool out there. I hope. Walks away. And then when Balor was cutting his promo, I just had all these flashbacks of just like, I hope. And it is this. Balor's not a bad promo, but he's not a brilliant promo either. But when he's just given these awfully scripted things, and he just you have to stick to the letter of it. I don't think he's not charismatic enough to get past that.
Yeah. He can deliver the lines fine. He never screws up the lines.
No.
But the lines aren't good.
No, they have no meaning behind them.
The worst one for me was when he had to call Dean. So when he was talking about Dean Ambrose not being there anymore and Jason Jordan has taken his place, he said, the lunatic fringe Dean Ambrose.
Yeah.
Why does everyone talk the same? That's not how real life works.
Although there was a nice moment in there from Seth Rollins, who didn't lift the mic right up. He just off mic just went, "Watch your mouth, man."
Yeah.
Which I like that. That's a really nice touch. It reminded me of the Samoa Joe Paul Heyman segments from last year, where they had this conversation that was all off mic and it was just all done. It was just picked up on camera.
In the corner.
Oh, it was great.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to do this too.
Yeah.
Don't kill him, Joe. Feels real. There was someone pointed out on Reddit that Balor went, "Oh, what's that word we use?"
Oh, yeah.
For
Yeah.
the N
N-word, yeah.
And I got the flashbacks to the South Park episode.
Oh, Naga.
You meant naggers. Wow. But of course it was nerds.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the joke they were trying to make.
No,
but,
they were trying. I think they were trying to say, "What's that word I'm thinking of?" And then I think as soon as Balor said it, he was probably like, "Oh, that came out much worse than I intended it to."
But anyway, Kurt Angle then is like, "Well, you're all having fun, aren't you? Let's make it a 6-man tag for later in the show." Oh, and this is where Jordan coined them the Champions Club.
Champions Club.
I love that.
I love Jason Jordan. He's my favourite thing on Raw.
So it's like, because a lot of people don't like Jordan's character, and they're like, "Well, he's babyface. Why is he being so rubbish?" No, but he's a heel. He's a spoilt brat within the thin charade of a babyface, and that's why his character's so complex.
And just wait until he finally snaps and attacks his dad.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. Or that he's just going to exploit Kurt's relationship with him.
Yeah.
To the full extent.
Which they sort of build up when they were talking when he was talking with the bar later on. And we've got a little advert here for.
Can I just say one more thing
yes.
about the Champions Club?
Mm-hmm.
It made me think of when that scene in Anchorman where the toilet store. It was that kind of rubbish playground comeback that you like that your mate makes, and you're like, "Oh, mate!"
And it's when
you've ruined it for us.
It's when
now.
he said calls himself the Champions Club. Rollins and Reigns' reaction to it, like I'm a big fan of Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns when he can do his subtle reaction,
just giving us 20 down thumbs.
When Roman Reigns can do his subtle reactions of just like, "Oh, this geek," it's like Rollins is perfect at it, but Reigns, I love his little tweaks to it. I really like it.
Reigns is good at those expressions, but they mean nothing because he once said "suffering succotash," the anniversary of which is coming up.
Is it really?
It's like a 3-year anniversary.
Oh man!
It's been almost 3 years since Reigns
Since
said
suffering succotash, son.
The widely agreed moment that everyone was like, "No, we don't like him anymore."
Actually, no, he's rubbish, isn't he?
Like it was wicked. Royal Rumble, eliminate everyone. Now we're over it.
Yeah.
It's been forced down our throats. So let's follow this through.
Sorry, there's a quick ad. Oh no, you wanted to talk about the Miz, right?
The Miz continuing the faction
yes, let's talk about
warfare.
the Miz.
So you've got the Balor Club and the Shield or the Champions Club, and then we've got the Miz's return. So Elias opened it up, and then the Miz was like,
"Because got to get him on the card, I guess, get some cheap heat."
Yeah, I wanted him to stay out there with them.
But he's not like, I don't know, it feels like he's supposed to be part of this. Because they bring him in and it's like, "Ladies and gentlemen, Elias." And then he does his like, "Your town's stupid." And then he just like, and here's the Miz, and then he walks off. So it's like, well, what was the point of this segment? This was just, it's filling time. This is a waste of time.
And also, like, the Miz to Raj aren't a credible threat.
No.
Like, none of them have been built up. Even the Miz, who's like the most noteworthy one of them, he's a chicken S-word heel, so it doesn't really work credibility-wise against Balor Club and the Shield. However, if that now becomes a 4-man faction, and you've always got someone on the outside, then it's you sort of like, oh, maybe they could cheat their way to victory here. So I would be all in favour of making Elias a full-time member of the Miztourage.
What you've essentially done there is the WWE booking when they were doing TLC.
Yes.
And they were suddenly just like, "Oh, no, face the Miztourage." "Oh, no, wait, they're a bit rubbish." The Bar. "No, wait, that's not good enough either." Kane. "Oh, no, that's not good enough either." Braun Strowman.
Yeah.
That's fine. Now that's a credible threat.
But I think the Miztourage, they're acting stars. You could bill Elias as a country and western star. And
That composer.
You could have... No. It's the Miztourage featuring Elias.
Okay, I like that.
And
Yeah.
then he's like, he opens up for them.
Yeah, okay.
So the Miz returns and he sort of hosts Miz TV, but then he doesn't. There's some nice comedy with Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel.
Trying to give him gifts. Yeah, I like them as comedy geeks. It's very good. It's just when they start to dominate Finn Balor that I turn off on them. But I thought it was great. But I tell you what, though, I thought Miz was great here. And I was really happy to see the Miz back. You know, he's been gone for a couple of weeks. It was just lovely to see him back on TV. And it just the way he cuts a promo, and he's so good at cutting WWE promos. Like, they give him all this scripted stuff, and he's very good at kind of working around that, making it sound like his own voice. I thought this was a really solid promo.
Yeah. The Wrestling Observer Radio pointed out recently, it was ever since The Miz won the Superstar of the Year or whatever it is from Rolling Stone. And Meltzer was not happy with that.
Were they really?
Well, of course he wasn't. He wasn't Japanese. He hasn't wrestled at the Tokyo Dome.
Where was he January 4th?
And he says, and I do agree with him, though, that Miz is an excellent... Well, this was more Alvarez's point. Miz is an excellent talker. He can talk really well. There's no argument against that. He's one of the best talkers in WWE. But as a wrestling promo, so a wrestling promo is meant to make you want to see a match. Do you ever come out of a Miz segment? It must be very rare going, I want to see him wrestle that match.
That's a really great point, actually. Yeah, that's a really interesting point, because this was a promo where he cut a promo on Roman Reigns, and it didn't make me go like, oh man, I can't wait to see them have their rematch. No, it just made me like, okay, so Miz is going into a program with Reigns then.
Yeah. And it was exactly the same with the John Cena stuff at last year's WrestleMania.
Oh, I think that's a little bit different, because I thought, though, the pair of them, when he was doing their Maurice and they were doing their Total Bella skits, I actually thought that made me more interested in the match. It made me more interested in the match than Cena and Nikki did.
Yeah. Well, it made me interested in the feud. It didn't make me interested in the match.
But I think the two go hand in hand.
They're not as connected as I thought they once were. Anyway, I thought that was a very good point, and that is my only criticism of Miz's otherwise excellent talking ability.
Yeah.
So he's still angry that Reigns took his title. He's going to get his title back, and it's another example of this 3-man faction warfare, and it all culminated later on in the night with the main event of Balor Club versus Champions Club.
Absolutely.
I'm calling them.
Yep.
And it starts off with that slideshow of Finn, Luke and Carl travelling around the world, as we've already talked about, and the Corey Graves reference. And then, the actual match.
Yeah, the highlight for me in this match was Jason Jordan celebrating with Roman and Seth, even though he hadn't done anything. He was, like, cheerleading on the outside as if he had done loads in this match and was, like, always celebrating with them. And every time he did, they were like, get off me, you geek.
Yeah.
And it was, I really enjoyed that. But there was a really killer point in this, and it was a really subtle thing. I'm going to read this as a subtle thing, as opposed to all the WWE stars have just been, like, they're all the same Lego figures that you just do the same thing with, the same building blocks. He was mimicking everything that Seth Rollins was doing for the hot tag.
Really?
Seth Rollins would walk down the apron. Jason Jordan would do the same thing. He'd run back, grab the tag rope, reach in for the hand, and it was like Rollins would do it, and then like 10 seconds later, Jason Jordan would do the exact same thing. And it really felt like, I read it as Jordan was trying to mimic Seth, to be like, look, we're all on the same mindset. We're all reading each other's minds because we're the most dominant 3-man team in this company.
I didn't notice that, but if that is the case, that is... I cannot see how people aren't cottoning on to what Jordan's doing here. I think he's absolutely superb. And to WWE's credit, they're the ones writing the character as well. Yeah. So you've got to say great performance from Jordan, great character, and stuff to make him do by WWE. That is stuff good.
He's doing Angle in 2000, where he's a legit badass in the ring. He can win matches, but he's also a bit of a comedy tool.
But he can't win matches. That's the other element to his sport character.
Yeah, but what I quite like about Jordan, particularly last week when he did win his match, even though he won it like more or less by the skin of his teeth, he celebrated like he'd won the WWF Championship.
So the match ended with Jordan costing the Champions Club the loss, victory, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So Jordan tries to get in, and that made the referee miss the hot tag from Rollins to Reigns.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or it might be the other way around.
No, because it was Rollins who got pinned.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah, that makes sense.
And then this allowed the Balor Club to do the coup de grace, and then pin Seth Rollins once Reigns was taken out on the outside.
Absolutely, yeah. I thought it was a pretty solid main event, and then The Miz and the Miztourage came out afterwards and attacked Roman, giving them the skull crushing finale, and then doing the Shield Bomb, your favourite, to wipe him out as the show went off the air. Haha, it's a Raw review, looking jacked, man.
We're trying to follow a theme through. That's what we're trying to start off with, the big story, and we'll follow that through the episode. And now we're going to go back and just do a play-by-play.
Talk about the other stuff that probably wasn't as important on Raw. Although I will say this, one of the theme tunes for this year's Royal Rumble is Little Mix,
which was released like 3 years ago.
Yeah, but not in the States.
Oh,
it was released last.
How it works?
Yeah, you know, this UK stars. You dominate the UK first, and then you move over to the US, and you kind of release the stuff that you haven't released there before.
I thought
that song came out last year, I think.
I thought Little Mix were already pretty big over there.
Not that I'm aware of, not to this point anyway. But either way, great song, and I love Little Mix. I think they're awesome.
It's a great song, but will you like it after all the promos with Cole going, "It's more Rumble than ever"?
I skip those bits. I don't have to Michael Cole talking about it's the Beast Brock Lesnar, and he doesn't have to get pinned to lose the championship. I can just skip those bits. I know what the card is, and I know why I should watch the pay-per-view.
Copy C,
Control C, yeah,
whatever.
Aha. But I like Little Mix.
So the opening match of Raw was Sasha Banks and Bayley beating Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville.
As I've written here, we've seen this match in some variation for weeks now. As soon as this match was announced, I rolled my eyes. I was like, I'm almost certain I saw this match last week. If not last week, the week before. I'm pretty sure I've seen Mickey, Bayley and Sasha versus Paige, Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville in just some variation, maybe singles matches, but these 6 women have just faced each other for what feels like months.
It's the same on SmackDown as well.
Yeah. But at least on at least on Raw, they're protecting Absolution somewhat.
I disagree, though, because, so Paige is obviously still injured. She's not medically cleared. That's why she was at ringside rather than being in the match. But Mandy Rose and Deville, this is one of their, first outings as a unit. They get beaten.
Yeah, but Paige is the star.
Yeah, well, yeah. But
it's like if they faced against the Miztourage, the Miztourage would probably lose because Miz is the star. But
I always thought that the point was to build up some new talent.
Well, yeah, you'd think that, wouldn't you? But that's not WWE's MO.
So you're helping me understand WWE's mindset rather than agreeing with it.
Yes. Yeah. Well, as opposed to on SmackDown, though, Ruby Riott just gets beaten all the time. So, in fact, actually in the Riott Squad, none of them are stars.
So yeah, this was an okay match. It wasn't bad.
No, I've seen it.
Yeah,
I've seen it all before, mate. And it was. And what actually was really annoying about this is that Absolution just completely dominated the match. Bank statement out of nowhere. Absolution lose. It's like, so no one gets over.
Then we had Cedric Alexander and Goldust backstage.
Yep.
This was pretty neato, I thought.
Yeah, Goldust cut a Rocky promo. He started doing Rocky lines in his little weird voice, doing his Mickey impression.
He was dressed up with the what was he call those beanie hats?
Beanie hats and everything. Yeah. Problem was, it was that WWE had written pauses into the script so the crowd could laugh. And no one did. So there were just lots of bits of dead air, which made it awkward and uncomfortable.
But it's your boy Goldust.
It is my boy Goldust. But, this is not the Gold... I missed Goldust heel turn.
And then they showed, and this was the first one of what was a bad 2 days for kayfabe ruining, baffling booking of mixed match challenge announcements.
Yeah.
Where Goldust, without his makeup on, was shown on Raw, which I don't think you should do. He's putting on his makeup, and then Alicia Fox came in and we're partners. Wait, and you are the worst team. You're getting eliminated right away. Yeah. So that was meh. The
one later on was far, far worse.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
And there was one on SmackDown that was not much better.
Yeah. Then we had Woken Matt Hardy's in-ring debut in WWE. The Woken version, at least.
Well, I mean, you say, was it an in-ring debut? Because this was just Matt Hardy with different music.
He is Woken now.
Is he?
He laughs more. He did the delete.
He was doing that before that.
This was more accentuated.
This is Malibu Stacy with a new hat.
Sure. You're not behind the Woken gimmick.
Oh God! Look at my note here. This feud sucks. I hated this.
You've in slamming your iPad down. You almost wiped everything.
Yeah. For those who have been watching this for a while, I am back to the iPad. I've run out of paper in my notepad.
So he's got new music.
He has got new music, but the same Titantron.
Yeah, well, that was a mistake, apparently.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, Matt Hardy tweeted afterwards. Kenny Omega pointed it out, and Matt Hardy tweeted, the person who played the incorrect Titantron will be deleted, or whatever.
Well, that sounds like an excuse more than anything.
Yeah, so I was hoping, as he did debut this new music, a different form of new music over the Christmas period at house shows, that he was going to have the Moonlight Sonata by Beethoven.
Which I'm kind of glad he isn't, because I use that for some of my weekend videos.
Well, it's great music,
It's
that's why.
It's great music. And you say Moonlight Sonata, my turn of reference is that bit of music you play in the first Resident Evil game.
Oh yeah, just go to sad, poignant, emotional music. So that was a bit lame, and to my knowledge, it's copyright free.
Yeah,
because Beethoven's been dead for quite some time.
Yeah,
so you could just record your own version.
Do you know what else has should be dead for some time? Matt Hardy's tan, which is utterly hilarious.
Yeah, maybe he's trying to match the red ring gear.
It's so bad.
So he beat Kurt Hawkins,
yep.
Probably bringing Kurt Hawkins to about 160 losses.
I think
now.
It's 153 now.
Is it?
Yeah.
And then after the match, Bray Wyatt thing. Bray Wyatt's behind Matt, and they have a laugh off for a long period of time.
This sucked.
I didn't think it sucked. I was just glad to be watching it alone. I wouldn't like to explain that angle to a casual or non-wrestling fan.
No.
Because they would think what I like is stupid.
Yeah. Here's what I was thinking about this on the tube ride in here today after I'd written up my SmackDown review. It's like my recollection of the Broken Hardy stuff, of what people really liked about the Broken Hardy stuff. Well, the stuff that people talk about, it was never the promos, it was never the matches, it was never the in-ring segments, it was the stuff at the Hardy compound. That's the stuff that people talk about, that's the stuff that people remember. So perhaps the reason why I'm not getting into this Woken Hardy stuff is because all the stuff that I've been shown thus far on Raw is all the stuff that people weren't really that into the first time round. Because it's promos, and it's matches, and it's laugh-offs. Why? Okay, this is very much an open-ended question, I suppose, perhaps a rhetorical one. Why haven't we done anything at the Hardy compound? Why aren't we exploring that side of it, the stuff that people actually liked about this?
Yeah, I feel like it's laziness. Or maybe WWE just don't want to get into the logistical headache of opening up more of this universe and getting over stuff they don't own the rights to, because Senor Benjamin and stuff like that is owned by Matt, whereas Woken Matt Hardy is now owned by WWE. That's why he's woken, not broken. But you are totally right. It's like the brilliance of this version of Matt Hardy is that he feels different from everyone else. And for a while, it seemed like that was going to be the case. He had the weird blue backdrop, but now everyone uses that on SmackDown Royal Rumble promos. And then there was the bit where he was talking to the goldfish. And I was like, okay, you're opening out this backdrop slowly to include other weird bits of Matt Hardy's universe. But they haven't done that. And now it's just fallen into that WWE template of in-ring, Titantron, just interviews. It's the same matches with Kurt Hawkins. It doesn't make Matt feel special, and it's flattening out the brilliant, eccentric character of him for WWE mode, and that is a shame.
And the laugh-off sucked.
Yeah. We've done Miz returning, Balor Club are backstage next, and then Enzo Amore took on Cedric Alexander, defending his Cruiserweight title, a match which he lost.
I've written here, New Japan's unit division, this is not.
But I said this to you yesterday, and I said it in my Raw review, I think Enzo is fantastic.
100% agree.
Yeah.
He is great.
Like, people they're down on Enzo because he can't wrestle. But you're like, okay, I'm not going to argue that point. He can't wrestle offensively. But promos, he's up there with the best of them at the moment in WWE. Character-wise, really, really good. Selling, awesome.
Well, there's a reason why he's so good at selling, because that's all he learned to do in NXT. He was taught to ragdoll and cut promos.
the great thing about the finish to this match, which is where Enzo is busted open. That was unplanned.
Oh man, alive was he busted open?
Yeah, by a stray Cedric kick.
Yeah.
But then the finish was Cedric Alexander jumping over the top rope, and Enzo catches him, and then he says he's got an ankle injury. And it's like they play it up like it's a legit injury. Apparently it wasn't, because he was at the WWE Christmas party held in January shortly after.
That's because they were performing on Christmas Day. But what I like really about this sell job that Enzo did is that not just did Enzo catch Cedric safely, so Cedric was absolutely fine, but Enzo sat down in such a way it looked like he could have hurt his ankle, so that when they show replays, it's like, oh man, I think he really did sat in his ankle. I was watching this going, and his selling was so good, going like, man, I think he really sat in his ankle badly there. I've written ankle injury,
I thought I didn't
great
think it was
selling
planned.
question mark,
Yeah.
because then it's such great selling, and he's so good at screaming and pushing off doctors and stuff. But then as soon as he crawls around the side of the ring, realizes the ref's counting, he goes to get back in the ring and it's like, no, I'm just going to stay here, and then continues his sell job. I thought it was really, really well done. I thought it was a great finish.
And to bolster that selling more, he put in a few swear words.
He certainly did.
Which they had to dip the audio for.
Yep.
So yeah, I just love Enzo. He's trying more than anyone to make the WWE PG wrestling a little bit more Reggie. I don't think he gets enough credit for that, but he will go out there and swear.
Yeah.
He was obviously busted open. He did push the doctor off a few times, I want this blood on my face.
Yeah.
It looks better this way. Blah.
Yeah.
So yeah, big fan of Enzo. And then backstage,
I mean, it doesn't make me want to watch 205 Live, but he's very good.
it's a similar thing to Miz. It's like he's a great talker, but is he a great wrestling promo?
Yeah.
I think he would be if he was a manager and he was selling you on other people's matches.
Yeah.
But not really interested to see Enzo wrestle.
Yeah.
Then backstage, Enzo was still selling, getting his ankle checked out by a doctor, and Nia Jax walked in, and Enzo sucked it up for a bit.
Yeah.
And he was like, nah, I'm cool, babe, And then Nia Jax walks off, and he immediately almost cries. Still, he's a good actor.
Very good actor, yeah. Poor Nia, I mean, we'll come on to her, I suppose.
You're waiting, aren't you? You're just brewing. You're bubbling here. Next up, we had Kurt Angle backstage. He's on the phone, and he's saying something to the effect of, yeah, I know you haven't been in the ring for a while, but this would be a great comeback for you. I mean, a star of your caliber for the Women's Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
So they're teasing Legend returns for the Women's Royal Rumble.
I mean, teasing, I thought that was pretty evident, to be honest, considering that there are 22 women on the roster. You take out the champions and Nikki Bella, you're left with 19. That leaves 11 spots open. Those 11 spots aren't going to empty space. They're going to legends. And people are like, oh, I wonder who he was talking to. No one. He's talking there's not going to be an entrant in the Rumble where you're like, oh, that's who he was talking to. That's just, he was just having a generic conversation.
So you're saying they shouldn't promote or even tease the idea of
No,
returns?
I think that's a great idea. Yeah. However, what I'm saying is a lot of people are like, oh, I wonder who he was talking to. Which legend was he talking to? It's like, well, no one.
They haven't figured that out.
That out. There will be 11 surprise entrants. He was talking to one of them.
It was on purposely vague.
Yes.
Yeah.
That match you had with, oh, sorry, someone's come in.
Yeah. I loved your time. Oh, sorry. So then the
You've
bar
seen the film
come in.
Club Dread?
No.
It's a parody of slasher movies of whodunits, and there's a moment when two of the characters are hiding and one of them has sacrificed himself to go get killed, and they're still trying to work out who the killer is, and you just see it from the point of view of the people hiding, and you hear the guy getting killed, like, oh, it's you! I knew it was you all along. It had to be you.
So then the bar come in, and they're a little bit angry with Kurt, because Kurt is granting matches for his son, Jordan, to go against people, but not them.
Yeah.
And the bar want their title rematch. So, in the Daniel Bryan style of doing things, yep, you got it.
Yeah, you got it. You're getting it at the Royal Rumble, automatic rematch clause and all that gubbins. And then The Miz walked in and he said he wants his Intercontinental Championship rematch as well. He's not getting his at the Royal Rumble, though, because you've got to have Roman in the Rumble. He is getting his at Raw 25.
Yeah. So that's the big... And they did put that over whoa, what a main event.
Yeah.
I was like... Yeah. They had a good match last time.
I'll be honest. Yeah, they did have a good match last time, but I'm more interested in other stuff about Raw 25 than I am Miz Roman Reigns.
It's like, why not make Brock Lesnar wrestle? I guess it's the go-home show.
Yeah.
So it's hard to criticise that. And then, was this now or was it later?
Asuka backstage?
Well, I've got Miz teaming with Asuka. When was
yes,
this announced?
No, this bit was here, yeah.
Take it away, Luke.
Okay, so this mixed match challenge lark that they're doing, Miz is backstage, he's holding this cup of coffee, and he's like, I'm about to find out who my tag team partner is for the mixed match challenge. Who should come out? But it's Asuka. And Asuka's there, and Miz is like, yeah, I got Asuka, the undefeated Asuka. And what does Asuka do? She smiles because she's happy to be teaming with the Miz. And I was waiting for her to like roundhouse kick the coffee out of his hand, not say anything, just walk up and be like, bang, and just kick it out and just walk away looking like a badass. And then Miz be like, whoa, I mean, I'm guaranteed to win this now, right? You've seen how cool she is. Not really understanding that she's a massive threat. But no, she just looked like a complete geek, happy to be teaming with The Miz.
Yeah, that's my problem with most of these team-ups. The face-and-face stuff is fine, because when they get together, they should be kind of goofy and happy. But when a heel gets paired with someone, why aren't they, like, at least fostering a bit of tension?
Like, this is not making me want to see this series. No. Because, like, it's giving me no reason to get invested in any of these teams, because all these teams seem to be happy together. There's no dissension between any of them. It's just this is going to be a bunch of matches.
And it's really inconsistent with continuity, and that's Miz is this really angry bad guy. I'm going for the Intercontinental title. Asuka is rampaging her way to the Women's Royal Rumble. Oh, but now we're happy together. It's like it exists in a different world, yeah, and that doesn't, like, and that's fine. Well, it's not fine, but okay, if you want to do that, don't show it on Raw.
Yeah, gosh, she looked like such a geek here. It really doesn't help her cause.
So
this was awful.
Asuka, this tied in with another storyline that went through the night, and that's Alexa Bliss going backstage trying to create dissension between Asuka and Nia Jax. Why? Not quite sure.
Dumb old Nia Jax will just believe anything that Alexa Bliss tells her, despite the fact that history has evidently showed her that she's a liar, and she will say things to try and manipulate Jax into doing her bidding for her. And you ask, why would Alexa Bliss do this? Because Asuka beat her last week, and it's kind of like a punishment thing, I guess.
Yeah.
A punishment.
I guess so. It's just there were so many logic holes here. So first up, Alexa Bliss goes to warn Asuka backstage about Nia Jax, she's angry with you or whatever.
I heard what you said.
Yeah, and then Alexa Bliss finds Nia Jax afterwards and is like, oh, you never guess what Asuka said about you. And she goes, bah, 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 bah. And Nia Jax steps back and goes, well, she said that? That's crazy, because Asuka doesn't speak English. And you're like, I just literally saw her speak English with The Miz. She spoke English last week. She does speak English.
I was so puzzled by that line. I'm so glad you've explained it to me now, because when she delivered it, I was like, that's an odd thing to say.
Yeah.
I didn't understand. That's what she was getting at. The Alexa Bliss, so she didn't believe what Alexa Bliss was saying. Man alive. Nia Jax is a good actor, but this was very poor, because that did not come across in the slightest.
And you said Nia Jax looks like an idiot.
Yeah.
She looks like even more of an idiot here, because I know she does. I know Asuka does speak English. There were so many things wrong with it. The acting between Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss was pretty woeful.
They're best friends. They're genuinely, in kayfabe, in real IRL, they are best friends. And they have zero chemistry together on screen. Yeah. It's kind of baffling.
But the cherry on top, for me, of annoying things was when Alexa Bliss said, hey, you can take out Asuka, then you can win the Women's Royal Rumble, and we can finally have that match together. I was like, you had the match! You had a throwaway match on Raw. You've already done the angle the week after SummerSlam when Nia Jax turned on you. This is patronising, undermining stuff. The women's division is awful across the board in WWE at the moment, and it's heading into their first ever Women's Royal Rumble.
But at least Raw has two storylines.
Yes, there's always that.
There's always that.
Next up, we had Titus Worldwide beating The Bar.
Yeah, what a surprise win that was.
So, was it a nice surprise, or was it a
no
nice surprise?
No, it wasn't like a not nice surprise. It was more of a, okay. Yeah. Because they did the same thing when the Fashion Police beat Rusev on SmackDown. It was like, okay, that's surprising. Considering as well that the Bar are going for the tag team championship, a championship opportunity at the Royal Rumble. So it just seems surprising to have these geeks who never win just beat them. And not only that, when they beat them, be like, oh my God, we won.
Yeah.
Like, acting very surprised that they won.
This was almost 2 segments after Kurt announced that tag match as well. So, why would you do it? Why wouldn't you just give the Bar a victory? It's a meaningless victory because Titus Worldwide are nothing. But now, I just don't see the thought process behind it. I thought I wasn't like completely off put by it because I do like Titus Worldwide, and it was a surprise shock roll up finish, so there's some protection there. But
they did the exact same finish on SmackDown.
Yeah.
Just realised that.
But it was the bad end of it was more the bad end of surprise. However, Dana Brooke doing the millions of dollars thing is pretty good on Raw.
Well, I've written here the Bar sold this brilliantly, and then I've just written Dana with a heart emoji.
Oh, you love Dana.
Do love Dana.
Because a few people sent me a GIF where, there was almost a wardrobe malfunction.
Oh dear.
In that millions of dollars bit.
Crikey
Indeed. Then we had a Brock Lesnar promo.
Well, you say a Brock Lesnar promo. It was a Paul Heyman promo. So I've written here, Heyman cuts a Heyman promo.
You know what? I forgot that this happened.
Yeah.
We spent so much time on the. I thought, oh, we're coming to the end now after the Titus Worldwide match. Okay, yeah. So, after Raw finished, I put up a tweet that said like, a mostly forgettable episode of Raw. Really enjoyed Jason Jordan. Samoa Joe's great. That's more or less about it. And then I got dozens of tweets afterwards saying like, what about Braun Strowman and the grappling hook? Yeah.
And I went, oh God, I literally forgot that happened.
So in the grand scheme of memorable, stupid, crazy comic book Braun Strowman angles, this one didn't connect with me for some reason.
It's because Brock's involved.
Do you reckon?
If this had just been Braun and Kane, that's fine because they're comic book characters having this big wacky comic book thing. But Brock isn't that character. Brock is a legit badass. He's a legit fighter. When you put him in feuds that are meant to be like, this is serious now. We've done all that goofy wrestling stuff. This is real. This is serious. And now you've put him into this goofy wrestling stuff, and it makes me like Brock less. It didn't make me like Braun more. It didn't make me. I feel nothing for Kane. I really didn't think this was that good.
So what happened was Heyman cuts the promo. Lesnar walks to the back. Kane attacks him. And this is all backstage, so I imagine it was definitely filmed earlier in the day.
Yeah.
This, because there were multiple cuts the way it was edited together. And Kane and Lesnar are brawling. Strowman comes in and puts both men through tables. He's looking around. He finds a grappling hook, Zelda style, in a crate nearby, and he throws it up there. Gets it first time.
Yeah, well,
good shot.
It made me think. You went for a Zelda reference. It made me think of like Mallrats. Of that bit when they're trying to escape from the Forge, and he's just pulling lots of random stuff out of his coat pocket. He's like, oh, by the way, I've got this grappling hook.
Nice.
Let's use that.
Yeah, and he pulls over this lighting rig on top of Kane and Strowman.
What was that lighting rig for? Because nothing in the Raw set changed.
Spare. You always want an emergency lighting rig.
A giant emergency lighting rig.
With no lights on.
Yeah.
Just unpack it. Fine to put it back in later. It's not heavy or anything.
It's not heavy. This one's made of biscuits. We'll be fine.
Yeah. So it was definitely a spectacle. Like it was definitely a thing that happened, but it didn't resonate with me on an excitement level. I was just like, oh yeah, that's it didn't really register beyond a good Samoa Joe promo makes me more excited than this.
Yeah, I wasn't keen on this. The only thing I really liked on this was at the end of, because Lesnar did a stretcher job. You had Braun walk away. Braun looked quite a bit heelish in here, considering he's meant to be this big monster baby face. And Kane kind of like stumbled away, but Lesnar did a whole stretcher job, and they carted Lesnar out and they put him into the ambulance. The only thing I really liked about this was Paul Heyman's selling of it, being like, I was like, damn right, I'm going to ride with him. And Heyman and Lesnar just screaming, Paul, get me out of this. Yeah. Paul, get me out of here. And it's just like, I don't want to be on this stretcher. I want to go out on my own. I'm going to ride to the hospital on my own. I liked that bit of it.
I completely agree. Next up, we had Samoa Joe beating Rhino. So we are really not getting any Rhino and Heath Slater fun backstage extreme skits.
No, but they did kind of further this story on commentary, where he said that Rhino took this match on to show Heath about how to be extreme or some nonsense. But I mean, whatever Rhino is trying to teach Heath Slater, I don't think it's working.
Yeah, they're just being used as a jobber act, really, with kind of very loose story.
It's all right, they'll get a win over the bar next week.
Yeah, right. So Rhino lost to this quite quickly to Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe's awesome.
Yep.
Unfortunately, though, it appears he has picked up an injury in this match. Popped something in his foot. Might have a foot injury.
That sucks as well, because he cut this promo afterwards, entering himself into the Royal Rumble, and then started a program with Cena that I assumed was going to build towards Elimination Chamber.
He was I like how he kept in mind the Intercontinental title. Like, I'm coming back for that IC title, Roman. And then you've got Miz, Roman, Samoa Joe. It's a nice crowded title scene at the top there.
Yeah.
But then, he's like, but now I'm going to go after Cena, because he's always been this big thing in my career that we've never really fought.
UPW, they got their start together. Was it UPW? Something like that.
I can't remember the name of the promotion. But they actually had a program at the end of last August after SummerSlam on the house shows, and that was meant to develop into a storyline, apparently. But Joe got injured there.
Yeah.
It's just so close every time. And this is when Michael Cole said more Rumble than ever.
More Rumble than ever.
I have to wonder, Joe was so intense in entering himself into this Rumble. On the was it Renee Young? Was it Charlie? It was someone interviewing him in the ring. Was the intensity ramped up even further by the immense pain in his foot?
Interesting.
And he's very angry, because he knows his own body. I imagine he's thinking, damn, I'm injured.
Yeah, this hurts.
Yeah. Then Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss, more pot stirring backstage.
That's the bit we talked about.
And then we had Asuka's match, which I screwed up on my Raw review. I think it was against Nia Jax.
Yeah, I think it was some jobber she was going to face.
Yeah. But she didn't get a chance because Nia Jax attacked her.
This bit I did like.
Yeah?
Yeah, this bit I'm absolutely fine with. I'm not so keen on them announcing Nia versus Asuka for next week. Say build to that. But, but I thought the actual attack was very good and very solid. It's a SmackDown review, Maggle. I love it. We got us a flying Uso.
SmackDown began with, it was slightly different than normal in that it took a while for Shane McMahon to come out. But it was the same standard in-ring promo.
Oh, I disagree. I really liked this.
Okay.
I thought
you seem to have enjoyed SmackDown more than me this week.
I thought this was a really nice way to open SmackDown, and it was actually a different way to open SmackDown. You didn't have Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn come down to talk about Bryan and Shane. You didn't have Bryan come out. You didn't have Shane come out. You didn't even have AJ come out to cut a promo. What you had was AJ coming out to do a sit-down interview in the ring with Renee Young, which I think, is the best use of Renee Young, because her talent has been completely wasted since cancelling Talking Smack. But B, it just felt like a different way to open up the show. It's the same thing, but because the stage was different, because the setting was different, it actually made me feel like, I'm more interested. I'm actually listening to this now, as opposed to if it was just AJ come out to be like, this is the house that AJ Styles built, and Royal Rumble, more Rumble than ever.
I see what you're saying. It definitely was different to Shane McMahon recapping the recap promo from the recap last week. But it wasn't different enough. I didn't think the segment ran smoothly. I thought it was a bit... it was just a bit rambling at times. Like, some questions seemed kind of repeated. I know that was what they were going for, to get out and tease out.
I liked that as well. Like, Renee was like, here's the question I'm answering. And we answered, it was like, that's not the question I'm asking. Yeah. And Renee then felt like a credible interviewer. She wasn't just like, my guest at this time, and now I'm going to hold the microphone for you. She felt like she was interviewing him. I really like that.
I agree with you. The story was that Renee is trying to see if AJ's annoyed with authority because they booked him in this handicap match. So I think the idea was good. I think the setting was wrong. I think this should have been a pre-taped backstage segment where it's like a proper sit-down interview, Jim Ross Mankind style. Obviously not that extreme, but of Renee Young, I think that's the best use of her character or her presence.
I like this.
I think I thought it sapped the crowd's energy. I think in-ring promos are always going to sap the crowd's energy after a while. I think this should have been a pre-taped thing, and I think more in-ring promos should be transformed into pre-taped, snappier bits backstage. Then KO and Sami came out after a while to do their yep stuff. Owens had a great line to Styles. about heaven not giving people like AJ miracles.
Yeah.
Which I really liked, because some of Owen's best promo work last year was leading up to the Hell in a Cell match with Shane, where he was all about heaven and hell. It was really great promos, and this sort of delusional psychopathic mindset that Owens has regarding that.
Yeah, and he said that when Sammy and Kevin win at the Royal Rumble, they will be co-WWE champions. Now, I really, really like this, because when they announced the handicap match last week, there was a report that said it was a mistake, which clearly wasn't true. This was always meant to be a handicap match. What I like about this is when they announced the handicap match last week, there were some people who'd be like, oh, but it's just, they may as well have made it a triple threat because they'll be arguing over the pin. It's every triple threat story you ever tell. Now that they've said that we're going to be co-WWE champions, you don't have that element anymore. You don't have the triple threat formula that WWE like to do when you have two heels and one babyface. You've now got a babyface going up against two heels in a handicap match, and he has to beat both men.
It's going to make Owens and Sami Zayn look awful if they don't win, though.
Well,
bar a screwy finish.
I think they're going to end up, based on the finish of this match, they're going to announce next week that it's no count-out, no disqualification,
right.
So you can use weapons and plunder and stuff. I'd imagine Shane O'Mac will get involved, and Daniel, and that will just further the storyline between... And this is kind of why I enjoyed SmackDown more. I know you were a little bit down the show, but I thought there were a lot of elements in here that really built towards the storyline, kind of planting seeds so they can grow further in future episodes.
So, you mentioned Shane. He comes out after KO and Sammy and awkwardly delivered some lines.
As Shane only can.
And it was really bad. It was like... Because this sort of stuff wouldn't work on a television show or a play or any other thing where you're meant to buy into the realism of a character. He effectively comes out and says, I'm feeling like this. I'm angry with Daniel Bryan. I'm confused about why these things are happening. It's like, that's the sort of internal monologue that you should be telling through actions and physicality. It's awful delivery of exposition. I'm right back down on Shane after he had a brief flurry of intrigue and heel facials over the December period. This was I didn't like him here. So he makes a handicap match tonight to mirror the handicap match at Royal Rumble, but the heels are at the disadvantage this time. Another bit of stupid psychology.
I disagree again.
I know, and I see what they're doing. We'll talk about it more in the main event, but I didn't work for me.
I completely disagree.
Owens and Sammy versus Orton, Nakamura and AJ, that's our main event.
Yeah.
And then he walks backstage and Bryan's there like...
Another nice little bit of, trying to make it feel a little bit different as to Raw. They walk backstage and have a little meeting in gorilla position, which I thought was a really nice touch. And they had this very awkward handshake. I'm really digging their dynamic at the moment.
I am digging the dynamic. I just feel like it hasn't progressed for quite some time now. And I'm getting a bit tedious. It's getting tedious for me. I feel like SmackDown very much is treading water.
I know, I disagree. I completely disagree. I think they're slowly telling this story, and each show adds in a new element to that story to further build it.
For me, it's imperceptibly telling the story if they're slowly building it.
Yeah.
Next up, we had Becky Lynch taking on Ruby Riott. We mentioned this in the Raw review part. Yeah, Ruby is just... I really like Ruby. She's really good. She's an engaging in-ring presence. She's got a great look herself, but... They're not doing anything with her.
No, and this match was there to show that A, Becky, Charlotte and Naomi are the biggest stars, and B, if without the Riot Squad interfering, they can't win matches. Because the Riot Squad tried to interfere, Charlotte and Naomi don't even stop them. They literally walk up and be like, don't do that.
Yeah.
And they stop, and then Riot loses. This was I don't want to say a burial of Ruby Riott, because that's a word that gets thrown out far too much, but it did her no favours whatsoever. And the Riot Squad are now they're so under the radar.
It's another nail in a coffin.
Yeah, it's another nail in the coffin.
And it's such a shame because...
But it's great to see Becky back.
Yeah, I have written that. Missed Becky so much. Becky's great. Love Becky.
Yeah.
She's why isn't she higher up the women's card?
Charlotte's
Because she's got everything.
Yeah.
She connects with the crowd. She's a really good wrestler. She's got a great promo delivery.
Yeah, sorry,
there's a fire in her.
Sorry, you were going to say something else before I interrupted you.
Yeah, I was going to say that Ruby is... This Riot Squad really should be there to elevate Ruby. And you could easily make another star, like another top-tier SmackDown women's star out of Ruby if they did it right. But they've fudged it at every turn. Really disappointing.
I don't know why this wasn't Liv Morgan.
Yeah.
Or Sarah Logan. It didn't need to be Ruby in this position.
Because they can't wrestle?
What? Maybe it is.
Sami Zayn next up.
No, I was going to say. So, I hated the Asuka one because it made her look like such a geek, but I think this one made me more angry.
It's just a different... Maybe you just got to look at it and say, well, this has no connection to reality. I guess it's more real. Because they're just people happy to... Oh, nice, because you're my colleague.
They're friends backstage.
Yeah. So it really does undermine the rest of what WWE are trying to get across. It was filmed on a phone, like a WWE.com exclusive, and it was the latest Mixed Match Challenge of Becky Lynch signing some autographs outside where SmackDown was taking place. There's someone dressed up in prosthetics. And
not even prosthetic, it was a wig and glasses.
A wig and glasses.
And a fake beard.
And it turns out to be Sami Zayn, and he's like, "I'm your partner for Mixed Match Challenge, Becky." And Becky's like, "Oh my god, that's amazing." They hug.
Becky, she is elated to be tagging with this guy, and I said this in my SmackDown review. I was like, isn't he the guy that supposedly screwed SmackDown at Survivor Series and tried to shut down the brand and ruin this thing? Why are you elated to be tagging with this guy?
Becky Lynch is meant to be like, "I'm SmackDown through and through. We're the better women's division, yada yada yada." But KO and Sami are meant to be this rogue faction within SmackDown.
Yeah.
Everyone's meant to hate. I don't like to think of KO and Sami having lunch with anyone but each other.
No, that's the best way they should be. That's the way you should be thinking of these two people. I'm so down on this Mixed Match Challenge thing. They haven't even filmed anything for it yet, and apart from all these doofy backstage segments. Yeah. I'm so down on it because it really takes me out of the storylines that I'm trying to get invested in.
Yeah. It really, and just because this comes right after Becky being a super babyface and winning, and now she's hugging one of the most dastardly heels on the brand.
Top heel.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Really, really bad stuff. So did you watch Fashion Files?
No.
It was good. But it wasn't on SmackDown. You only got the last 30 seconds of the skit. The rest of it was a online exclusive because, it got over. So we can't have that on the show.
No, exactly. We'll talk about that when we come to Rusev Day.
Yeah, so the Fashion Files skit was actually pretty good. I went and watched it because I like them. Fandango just stands really weirdly throughout the whole thing. He stands with his sort of hands on his nipples rather than his hips, but it's never brought up. They have a training montage to get the Ascension ready for their match.
Oh, lovely.
And there was this really Tyler Breeze and Fandango, their timing together is perfect. Tyler is like, I know what will fix the Ascension. We need let's say it on 3, 1, 2, 3. And Tyler Breeze says, montage, and Fandango goes, smoothies. And Breeze's like, no, we need a montage. And then nothing happens. And Fandango's like, we need a montage, please. And then it kicks into the montage.
Nice.
Training montage with the Ascension. Great stuff. And then the Ascension are like, so you're going to be in our corner tonight for the Bludgeon Brothers match, yeah? And they go, no, we've got a match against Rusev Day. And that's the only bit you saw on SmackDown.
Oh, man, that sounds fun.
It was fun. They're always fun.
Yeah, don't put that on SmackDown, obviously. But that did lead to the Ascension and the Bludgeon Brothers. I liked the Ascension getting out a hot start. They were very much they just jumped onto the attack, and the commentary were kind of putting it over as well, it's usually the other way around. It's usually the Bludgeon Brothers that attack first. This is a really nice side to the Ascension. But then the Bludgeon Brothers just quickly killed them, and I think Todd Phillips even went, that didn't last long. And Bludgeon Brothers killed them. It was a very quick squash match. I really like this team. I'd like to see them do something else now.
Yeah. Bludgeon Brothers need an actual storyline.
I'm more interested in the Ascension Fashion Files storyline as opposed to the Bludgeon Brothers being involved in it.
It'd be interesting to see how the Bludgeon Brothers are treated in the Rumble.
If they're in the Rumble.
Ooh, saucy. They'll have to be. It's more Rumble than ever. No Breezango save, of course, unfortunately. So poor old Ascension, they're best friends. Maybe it's building to a feud there. Mojo Rawley next beat Zack Ryder. Rawley looked good.
Rawley did look good. This was another match.
Yeah, so it's part of the US title, the vacant US title tournament. The winner of this would face Bobby Roode. So Bobby Roode was on commentary here.
He didn't do commentary.
He didn't. No, he just sat at ringside, didn't he? Yeah. My apologies. And yeah, Mojo wins. He pretty much dominated the match against Ryder. And Roode and Mojo have a stare-off in the ring afterwards. And I always assumed Mojo would be shorter than Roode. Rawley's a big guy.
He's a big guy. I wish he wouldn't do that entrance.
Yeah.
Because he still does his babyface entrance with his heel music and heel facials. It just seems really weird. It'd be like if the Ultimate Warrior turned heel but still ran to the ring and shook the ropes.
Yeah, Sami Zayn's tweaked his just enough where it's now obnoxious.
Yeah.
It's going to be difficult to see him go back to a babyface and have the same moves. There was a stare down afterwards. Mojo walked off and Roode did the glorious thing.
Yeah, and then we got Jinder cutting a promo in front of my favourites of the NAF backstage things that they have now, because it was a flag of India. But what was brilliant about this is that it didn't even fill the frame. There's a huge gap down the side where they didn't have enough flag or enough space to kind of fit them all in, and it looked, I called it in my SmackDown review, befitting of woken Matt Hardy.
You need to just adjust the crop size. I do this in Photoshop all the time.
But they can't even crop it because they needed cropped out one of the Singh brothers. That's why there was not enough space in camera and there was not enough flag.
They just need to snuggle up a bit more.
Or just move the flag a bit more central and you have black bars down either side.
So you're not calling the Indian flag NAF?
No, I'm not. I'm calling the backdrop itself looks naff.
I thought that was a good promo though.
Yes. Did you see Xavier's tweets?
Yes, I
did.
did.
Very good. So he wasn't on the show. The New Day went on the show, but he tweeted him watching it in his hotel room, stood at the appropriate angle where you're not really looking at the TV, and something about how you're close enough so that the glare of the TV can damage your eyes.
Then we had our second mixed match challenge pairing announcement.
Yep.
Natalya is going to team with Shinsuke Nakamura.
At least Natalya said, "I'm glad it's not Sammy." And then
Why?
Because he's a heel.
But so's Natalya.
But Natalya at least is trying to work some kayfabe into this because he tried to shut down SmackDown Live or something.
I guess
whatever that storyline is. And then Nakamura made cat sounds. So at least we've got that.
I've written, why not team Natalya with Sami Zayn? They're both heels. I get what you're saying, but I think Nakamura and Lynch...
So much more into that team.
And Natalya and Zayn, that feels more right.
Yeah.
Feels stuff good, but this is stuff bad.
Yeah.
Don't enjoy it.
But what I did enjoy was American Beta's promo.
Yes.
I loved this. I thought this was great. It was Gable and Benjamin came out to talk about the injustice that happened last week, where they won the SmackDown Live Tag Team Championships, but then a crooked ref overturned this decision and talked about how they were essentially robbed of their titles. And then Benjamin did something that hasn't been done in many a year. It's the 2000s Edge and Christian thing where you come out and you go, "Hey, your local sports team, hey, are not good. Boo." An easy way to get heat. Or, as he did today, was like, "Your local sports team won something. Hey, but your local sports team rivals are better. Boo." I don't know. Because they're like goofy heels, I guess.
Yeah.
I kind of really enjoy it. And
I loved it. Cheap heat isn't bad.
No.
It's just cheap.
But my favourite thing about this was Chad Gable. And I feel that Chad Gable hasn't really been able to shine up on the main roster. I haven't really enjoyed a lot of his backstage stuff that he's done. But here it just feels like this is a Chad Gable I can definitely get behind as a heel. Particularly if this is going to be his new catchphrase, which is a wonderful, wonderful, obscure reference to the 1992 movie Encino Man, released here in the UK as California Man.
Okay.
There's a character in that, like the bad guy in that movie, the jock character that's trying to... Have you ever seen California Man?
Yes, I have. It's not Brendan.
Brendan Fraser
yes, I have,
and Paulie Shaw and Sean Astin, where they find a caveman in a block of ice in their back garden and they de-thaw him and turn him into a 90s kid. But you got the jock character who's trying to work out who Linkovich Chomowski is, which is Brendan Fraser's character. And he always says, whenever people try to remember, he goes, "Shush!" And that's what... As soon as I burst out laughing because I haven't thought of shush for some time, and it always made me laugh in California Man.
Gable was very good. Benjamin was very good too.
So good.
They were both very good. Gable was even better though. And then out came, to answer their disgruntled promo, Daniel Bryan.
Yes.
Saying that you're annoyed with the authority of the referees. They represent myself and Shane, so take it up with me. And I thought, who are Bryan's allegiances with here? Because he's the honorary member of the Usos rap team, Sweet Beats. Mm-hmm. But then he's also Chad Gable's illegitimate father.
Oh, you are talking about things that WWE do not care about.
Well, why not? They put in all the mixed match challenge announcements. Make this continuity too.
Yeah. But on a more serious note, I really liked this part.
Serious.
I thought this was also really interesting in Daniel Bryan's character, and they kind of built this into a backstage segment later on. Because Daniel Bryan isn't siding with the heels. He's not saying, hey, I think you guys are great, and I'm going to put you into this 2 out of 3 falls match. But he is always putting the baby faces at a disadvantage. And that, as I said, that played really well into the Shane backstage thing they did later on. I also thought this was a really, really great segment and another little seed in the storyline.
Yeah, this was good. It was nice to explore Bryan's heelish authority figure traits.
But it's not even heelish, really.
It is heelish.
It's not heelish.
His mannerisms, his face, everything he's doing.
But the whole thing, he came out and he shut down the heels, saying that, like, you guys are wrong. You didn't win the match.
Yeah.
And so that, if he was a heel, or if he was showing heelish tendencies, he would be, coming out being chummy with heels, but saying, like, I think you heels wrong, I think you have been wronged, and I'm going to book you into a match where you are at an advantage. But he's always booking baby faces at disadvantages. And Shane McMahon later on called him unstable. And it almost feels like Bryan is doing this on purpose to try and kind of, like, ruin SmackDown, to make the baby faces unhappy so they may revolt against Shane, because he's the ultimate authority figure in this case. And Shane and it had this wonderful line where he's just like, yeah, you call me unstable, but I mean, look at your gene pool. You were going to do this sort of stuff anyway, because look at who your dad is. Look at your gene pool. You're more unstable than I am. I think this is a wonderful dynamic.
I don't get in your explanation there where Bryan isn't showing heelish tendencies. Because everything you just said kind of makes it sound like...
he did this with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. He's never sided with Kevin and Sami. He's never sided
that
with the heels.
That would be a definitive heel turn. I'm saying he's showing heelish tendencies.
Yeah, okay. I will... I can argue it a little bit. Shush!
So, yeah, Bryan... I've put Bryan's definitely healing it up, yeah. maybe not.
God, you just see things in black and white. That's your problem.
But it's not. I didn't say he's turned heel. Okay, next up.
Oh, all those people who thought, like, Chad Gable's not a heel. Mate, he's definitely a heel.
Heelish tendencies.
He's definitely a heel.
Backstage next, we had quite a wonderful skit with AJ Styles and Randy Orton. First off, they're saying, let's talk some strategy for the main event. And Orton's like, yeah, we're going to be chummy tonight. But let me tell you, once I win the Royal Rumble, again, he's going to face Cena. No, it's going to happen. I'm coming after that. And I was like, oh, I like that. I like, the championship is the most important thing in the company. That I always like that to be placed that way. But then Nakamura appears, their other teammate for the main event, and just leans over and does a too sweet to AJ's WWE title.
But what was even more brilliant about this is that, like, Randy Orton said his piece, and AJ was just like, okay, good talk. And then Nakamura just comes in, doesn't say anything, too sweets the belt, and then goes, good talk.
Yeah.
And walks away. Perfect. That's how you use Nakamura. Don't have him say too many things.
Yes.
He just comes in, looks cool, says a couple of words, and off he pops.
Definitely agree. Next up, we had Breezango's match, the one where they were, that's why they couldn't help the Ascension, nothing against the Ascension, where they beat Rusev Day.
Yeah, because Rusev Day got over on their own, and that's not allowed, so now you're being beaten every single week.
Yeah, it is every single week, or not necessarily beaten, but losing.
Yeah,
because there are multiple matches.
As I said in the SmackDown review, they're giving him the Zack Ryder treatment.
So it really is a shame, because it's a hot act, and it's good, and people chant Rusev Day. Rusev was really over in his hot tag part, that the opening bits of the match, not so much. And Aiden singing about the Rusev Rumble. It's all good stuff, but it was Fandango pins him in a surprise roll-up. And you've got me... WWE are doing it again. Well, I like Breezango. I want Breezango to win more matches. So I should be happy. But WWE have found a way to... it's like the the double-edged sword that you don't see coming. It's like, oh, you think you want that?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll give you that. But there's a catch.
I think what's really weird as well is because I write the notes while I'm watching the show, and I wrote in my notes, Rusev Day beat Fashion Police. And
sometimes you preemptively write stuff, yeah.
And then I actually deleted it being like, well, I don't know that for sure. And so I deleted it and then put verses in its place. And at the end of it, I was like, I was actually right to do that. I thought I would have to undo the typing that I'd just done, but lo and behold, no, they didn't win.
I did this before the match started. I wrote down the Bar beat Titus Worldwide. But no, you had to go back and correct that.
It can be done. But then we had the backstage segment that I talked about earlier with Bryan and Shane.
That was good.
That was really good. And actually, it was almost good from Shane, really. In fact, actually, I really like Shane's last line, where Bryan just says all these things where essentially it's like, your family are full of dicks, mate, and that essentially means you're a dick as well. Mm-hmm. And then Shane just paused and was like, let's agree to disagree. I'm going to leave you alone now. Because Shane thinks that he is becoming unstable, but Bryan's got this plan, it seems. I think there's so much in here.
I do agree with you. In practice, I think it's drawing out too long. I would like some bigger beats between the
you can't appreciate a good novel.
And finally, the main event was the handicap match of the babyfaces, Orton, AJ, and Nakamura, beating Owens and Zayn.
Yes. So on this, the surface of things, this would seem like it's an unfair advantage for the baby faces. This seems like it would be a really daft thing. If this was done in TNA, we'd say, like, this is stupid because the heels are at the disadvantage. This doesn't get anyone over. But this perfectly plays into Shane's story, where he hates Owens and Zayn, and he's... They're basically, him and Bryan are fighting over booking these people into the matches that favours the people that maybe they're trying to favour. So Bryan has booked them into a handicap match where they've got the advantage. Shane's like, well, I'll show you. I'm going to book them in a handicap match where they have the disadvantage. But this only further fuels Owens and Zayn's plight against Shane McMahon and the booking that they've received on SmackDown Live, which is a great little extra note in the story. Not only that, it also plays into the Royal Rumble match you got at the end of the month, because this match showed if you have a 2-on-1 advantage, you're likely going to win. Which then that builds up into AJ's story, where he's like, now, if you're watching this as a fan, you're like, well, AJ's in a 2-on-1 scenario at the Royal Rumble, maybe he's going to lose his title.
Yeah. It all works on paper for me. I can't, if you were to say to me, we're going to have this really good back and forth, one week we'll have the heels getting the upper hand with a match dynamic, the next week the baby faces will have the advantage in the match. I could be like, okay, that sounds good on paper. I totally agree with that. But in practice, it just didn't connect with me because...
I think you're just grumpy.
No,
you're not sleeping well.
It never really works. Heels at a disadvantage. There must be another way you can book around this, where you can still tell this very good story that they're telling, but not have to have it result in a match that is dramatically not as interesting as it could be, because the dynamic's wrong.
I mean, but perhaps you could put it that way. I just think they're telling this story very well, and you've also got Corey Graves on commentary then being like, this is ludicrous, because you've got Kevin and Owens, they're on their own as the heelish commentator that he is, ignoring the fact that come the Royal Rumble, they're going to have the advantage over AJ Styles. Not only that as well, but you also had further fuel to Sami and Owens' fire of them trying to walk out and Shane coming out being like, no, it's a no count out match. Then them trying to get themselves DQ'd. No, it's a no DQ match. He's being a heel authority figure, screwing them over, but they're the heels, and it's a really weird dynamic. But for me, it kind of it didn't work for a long time. But the way that they've kind of told the story over time, it really does work for me. And as I said, my prediction for next week is that Bryan is going to announce that, well, they had this disadvantage last week, so come the Royal Rumble, I'm going to give AJ Styles the same disadvantage. It is going to be a no count out match. It's going to be a no DQ match, because AJ could just try and disqualify himself in the match.
Yeah. It's weird because the exact same arguments that I'm putting towards this angle could be levelled at Jason Jordan, and which I'm a huge fan of, because Jason Jordan is, when he had his match against Cesaro last week on Raw, it was heel versus heel, something you really shouldn't do when booking matches, psychologically it doesn't work. But I loved it, and I thought it really did work, but the crowd weren't into it. So I definitely wasn't connecting with the mainstream opinion there. So
and the crowd was into this. Crowd were really into the good guys beating up the bad guys and the bad guys getting their comeuppance.
Yeah, so, it's what I feel. The long term, I think it's taken, that the story's hit a snag, and it's taken too long to tell itself now. And this particular chapter in the story, I didn't think was dramatically engaging. And for the SmackDown has got a cliffhanger problem. I'm never like, ooh, I can't wait to see what's happening next week, because they just end with resolution most of the time. The baby faces won.
Last week.
What happened last week?
He announced the handicap match.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, that was a good one. That was a good one. But the week, so on Raw though, you've always got the Miz standing over someone, over Reigns this week, standing tall. I just feel like SmackDown does not have that cliffhanger element, and it really should build up on that more.
SmackDown
TV.
SmackDown loves to end its shows with Randy Orton celebrating.
Yes, yeah, God, that is a worrying fact. Well, that's all we've got time for.
We're not going to say who we, in your streamlining of this show.
Streamlined version. Who are you going to go for?
SmackDown.
I'm going to go Raw. Ooh, because it's a better show. So click the videos that have just appeared here to catch up with the latest WrestleRamble or WrestleTalk news. This has been Luke Owen, I've been Ollie Davis, and that was Rambling.